Hello, welcome everybody. It's so good to be here speaking with you all because I do like suing public universities when they infringe upon the rights of their students, and especially of pro-life students, because the pro-life movement and the cause is near and dear to my heart. So I am Tyson Langhofer, and I am the director of the Center for Academic Freedom with Alliance Defending Freedom. Alliance Defending Freedom is the world's largest religious liberty law firm. And we do a large number of things to protect the religious liberties of individuals. On my team, we exist to protect the First Amendment rights of students and faculty at public universities so that everyone can freely participate in the marketplace of ideas. But we also have a Center for Life, which exists to push back on legislation that protects abortion and to defend legislation which restricts abortion. And so we are going to be very engaged over the next 4 years in pushing back against an administration that has said they are going to roll back many of the protections and restrictions upon abortion that the Trump administration was able to put in place. So what I'm going to do during my short time here is I'm going to talk about some of the potential threats that the Biden administration exists and has said that they're going to do to roll back some of these abortion regulations. And then I'm going to talk about some of the things that you can do on your campus to be an effective pro-life advocate. So let's talk about the first 10 things that might be on the Biden administration's list in order to roll back some of the protections that the Trump administration did. First of all, Biden has already rolled back the Mexico City policy, which by executive order this last Thursday. And that policy prohibited the federal government from funding organizations internationally that protect or promote abortion. The second thing is Title X regulations that govern family planning. The Biden administration issued an executive order today asking his Health and Human Services to review the Trump rule, which prohibited abortion, performance, and referrals within a family planning program that's funded by Title X. That rule was actually the reason that Planned Parenthood and several of the blue states had pulled out of the Title X programs. The third thing that the Biden administration is likely to do is to take away the abortion pill contraceptive mandate under Obamacare. The Biden administration has promised to take away those exemptions for religious organizations. The fourth thing is the Obamacare non-discrimination on the basis of sex regulation that has been interpreted to mean include termination of pregnancy. Biden has promised to review President Trump's repeal of the Obamacare rule that would have required health care providers to perform abortion under the guise of non-discrimination. The fifth thing that the Biden administration is going to do is to the HHS regulations and the designated civil rights team that the Trump administration put in place to enforce pro-life conscience laws. Those laws were designed to protect healthcare providers that did not want to engage in abortion, and Biden's nominees and the advocacy groups have called for an end to the enforcement of these protections for conscience providers. The sixth thing is the HHS regulations enforcing separate payments for abortion coverage from other Obamacare insurance. Many activists had demanded that this also be repealed. Seventh, the HHS Medicaid letter stating that states are no longer prohibited by CMS from excluding Planned Parenthood from Medicaid. Many activist groups want HHS to restore the Obama policy of requiring states to allow Planned Parenthood in Medicaid. The ninth thing is that the International Geneva Consensus Declaration, which rejected abortion as a human right and sexual and reproductive health, Biden has promised to take a different approach. Finally, the Biden administration supports codifying Roe into federal law. Not only that would just codify Roe, but that would subject nearly all state abortion restrictions to strict scrutiny, which is the highest level of review for a constitutional review of a law. So those are the top 10 things that the Biden administration or activists have already said that they are targeting, because the last 4 years have been a very pro-life administration and many gains have been made, and the Biden administration are likely to roll those back. So that's the bad news, right? But what's the good news? Well, the good news is we have activists like you on campus ready to bring a pro-life message to your school. And we also, the other good news is that we have the First Amendment, and this protection for your speech is very strong. So let me tell you, after years of representing college students, I've really found that there are 3 must-haves in order to be an effective pro-life advocate on campus. The first must-have is that you must value truth more than you value popularity. Let me repeat, you must value truth more than you value popularity. Now, why do I say that? Well, first, as pro-lifers, we place a high value on justice. We believe that all laws must be just, and we recognize that justice can't be achieved apart from the truth. One of my favorite sayings on that is that justice is the handmaiden of truth, and when truth dies, justice is buried with it. Now, as people that care about justice, we must never evaluate whether to support a policy or an ideology based upon whether it's popular. A policy that's based upon inaccurate or false information will result in unjust outcomes, even if it's supported by a majority of the people. As pro-lifers, we must not support laws that result in injustice. America was formed because the Founding Fathers believed that England was enforcing unjust laws. The Declaration of Independence begins by declaring certain truths. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. In other words, we must value truth because laws will only be just when they are based on truth. Now, the second reason that you must value truth more than popularity is that truth, it's not very popular on college campuses today. I'm sure if you've engaged in any sort of pro-life advocacy, you've recognized and experienced that speaking the truth about human life and about abortion is not going to be popular. But if you want to be an effective advocate for ideas that promote justice, you must be willing to speak truth, even if it's unpopular. Now, the second must-have to be an effective advocate for pro-life ideas is courage. So why do you need courage? Because expressing pro-life ideas on campus, it's likely to trigger some significant backlash. So why is that? Well, George Orwell said it best. He said, the further a society drifts from the truth, the more it will hate those who speak it. He also said, in a time of deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. Now, in my work every day, I'm inspired by students like yourself that are out there on your high school and your college campuses, and you're displaying courage. And that's what motivates me. That's what gets me up every day, because I love defending students like you that are bringing life and hope to your campuses. Because I know it takes courage to stand up to your university administration. It takes courage to stand up to the mob. But I also see that courage is always rewarded. As Teddy Roosevelt said, it's not the critic who counts. It's not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Now, the final must-have to be an effective advocate for pro-life ideas is a First Amendment lawyer. That's me. Now, chances are, if you're out there actively promoting your pro-life club on campus, you're likely to be confronted with a situation where your college officials or your high school officials attempt to enforce a policy that violates your rights. That's where we come in. At ADF, we've achieved more litigation victories for college students than any other organization in the country. Over the last 13 years, we've achieved more than 435 victories on college campuses throughout the country. And many of those victories are for Students for Life groups just like yours. And again, I love defending the work that you all do because you are doing real work. You're bringing real resources to women and girls that are hurting. And that's important work. And you need to get out there and do that. And we're here to defend you. So in my remaining time today, I'm just going to give you a brief rundown of some of the policies that you might run into to be alert for. The first way that a high school or college might try to suppress your rights is through a speech zone or speech permit policy. They might say, hey, if you want to talk about pro-life ideas, that's fine, but you need to do it in this little area over here, not where everybody else is speaking, because your speech might offend people. If they do that, that's unconstitutional. You need to call me. We'll attack that policy. And we've got a great track record of knocking those policies down. So another way to do it is they might say, well, you can speak, but you have to have a permit, and you've got to come talk to us, and we got to approve your speech. If they're telling you you have to have a permit to speak on the sidewalk or the grassy areas of your campus, that's likely an unconstitutional policy, and we would like to help you with that. Now, the second way they might do it is they might have a speech code. And they might not require you to have permission, but they might say, well, you can only speak if you don't engage in words or speak things that are, say, hurtful or demeaning or derogatory or discriminatory. Now, nobody likes to say hurtful or derogatory things or likes to protect those things, but those are subjective determinations that they use to suppress pro-life speech because they disagree with it. So if your school says you can only speak unless other people, if nobody objects to your speech or if we don't object to your speech, that's an unconstitutional policy, and you need to come talk to us because we want to help you. They can't tell you you can't speak because we disagree with your speech or because other students disagree with your speech. That's unconstitutional. Another way they might do it is they might impose restrictions on your group that they don't impose on other groups. So for example, you need to obtain official recognition in order to be an officially recognized group. You get benefits. And many times they're denying official recognition to Students for Life groups like yours because the Student Senate doesn't like your views. They can't do that. If they allow other official recognition of other student groups, they can't deny your group just because they don't like your pro-life views. They also might say, they might charge you student fees that they give and they allow other student groups to use for their events, but they might deny you use of those fees. That is unconstitutional. They cannot do that. If you're required to pay mandatory fees and other student groups receive those fees, then you also have the right to receive those fees. So make sure that you're using that. That is a resource that you can really use to bring your message to campus. If there are fees that are accessible to students, make sure that you request those. And if you're denied, I want you to come talk to us because we want to challenge that policy. Just last year, we completed a 2.5-year litigation for a Students for Life group at Cal State University San Marcos. And because Nathan Apodaca was willing to stand up to his school, the entire Cal State system now has a constitutional policy, and all 23 campuses are required to allocate those funds in a viewpoint neutral manner. So make sure that you are not being discriminated against because of your school. The final way they might do it is they might require you to pay security fees for your pro-life event. They might say, well, some students are going to come and they're going to object to your speech. And then because of that, you've got to pay security. That's unconstitutional. That's like a tax on your speech. They can't do that. If they don't charge every student group a security fee, then you can't be required to pay that just because of the content of your speech. So again, I encourage you, get out there, engage in activism, be active on your campus because students need to know the truth about abortion. They need to know that there are people fighting for those who cannot fight for themselves. Although we've had a change in administration and although things can look dark, the bottom line is we still have many, many tools that we can use to bring a pro-life message to campus. Our First Amendment rights are still strong. And we still have the right to change hearts and minds to make abortion unthinkable. And the way that we're going to do that is through people like you out there on your campus bringing that pro-life message. And we at ADF want to partner with you to protect your rights on campus. Thank you for what you do, and I look forward to working with you in the future.